Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine. You're listening to a new The Hacker Factory podcast with hacker maker Phillip Wylie. You're about to discover what the role of a professional hacker entails, the different specializations it holds, and what it takes to learn and become one. Enjoy the conversation as Phillip and guests unveil the secrets of professional hacking, a mysterious, intriguing, and often misunderstood occupation. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
BugCrowd's award-winning platform combines actionable contextual intelligence with the skill and experience of the world's most elite hackers to help leading organizations identify and fix vulnerabilities, protect customers, and make the digitally connected world a safer place. Learn more at bugcrowd.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hacker Factory podcast. This week I'm happy to have my friend and community volunteer, Kim Kennedy. She does a lot for the industry, does a lot of volunteering. I was just kind of looking through her LinkedIn profile just now and just amazing all the different groups that she's volunteering in or board of. So it's really great to have you on the show. We've known each other for a while through social media. We haven't got to meet in person yet, but hopefully that'll change sometime soon. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Phillip. It is an honor, and I absolutely adore you and all the things that you've done for the community as well. So, I mean, you are just a positive influence, and that's what I love to see in this community.
Thank you. And
it hasn't always been that way.
Yeah, it hasn't. Things have gotten better, and the feeling's mutual. I really like what all you do, and that's one of the things we have to really remember too. Is attitude is contagious. Mm-hmm. So, it's like really sometimes if you can address things in a positive manner and not in a scolding manner, because I think back to when I was a child and my parents would scold me for something, you get mad and you're so mad and upset about it, you don't learn the lesson from it. But sometimes if you approach things in a different manner where you're more positive, then people get that lesson better and there's no resentment and, built up anger over it. So having those positive attitudes, people like you, and then like BSD Bandit and folks like that are sharing positive messages and be out there being positive, even Cyber Warrior. Just those. And Cyber Papa, folks have, positive messages, and that's the way to do it. I mean, there's ways, even if you need to share a message that always isn't the great, but if you can deliver it in the right way, people are going to be more receptive to it.
100%. I've been really focusing that. A lot of what I'm trying to do too is I have a nephew. He just turned 8, or actually 2 days from now will be turning 8. And so he is an amazing kid. And he's got, little bit of what I think will be, great for this, community. And I want to kind of focus that energy. But sometimes with the gaming and different things, I kind of have to talk firmly with him, but then I'm like, this is why I need you to understand. And he responds to that and I think that's one thing that I didn't have. It was the scolding without the why. And I'm very much, well, why? You're going to tell me no, I need to understand. And so I think we forget about that with kids. They're especially being digital natives now, with the amount of knowledge and that they absorb, we got to get that to them and make them kind of understand why we're doing the things that we do. It's not just because I said so. That's what we used to always get, right? Because I'm an adult and I said so.
Yeah, it's always better to make it a learning opportunity because you're trying to get them to learn from it. If they learn from it, the kids hopefully won't do that again. They'll know better and they kind of grow from there. So I think that's a great way to approach it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of work to do, and it's, the more things that we continue to add to this environment digitally and through now with Web3 coming, we've already seen a lot of the different things that can go wrong with Web3 as far as scams, because there's just not enough information out yet. But I kind of feel like we haven't done our job, right, as security practitioners, because for a long time it was like, haha, I know something you don't know. Now, granted, I'm relatively new in this field as far as technically. I've been around it, and I've been around people who are programmers, developers, and hackers, and we so I know a lot, but I don't just because I haven't been in this field. And so I've seen all the damage that can be done. Social media has brought up a lot too. So I think we've failed as a community to protect the citizens instead of, we come out like we're so smart sometimes, but we have failed to go, this is, again, kind of like with children. Hey, this is why you need it. I'm trying to make it very pragmatic to the people that I'm talking to. So that's what's really important to me. And we can't just talk to everybody the same, right? We're not all the same. That's why I'm part of a lot of different groups, because I want to hear their opinions and I want to hear how they respond to me and how can I become better at responding to different things like that. So
very, very good points. And, a lot of our listeners may not know who you are. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself, kind of your background? That's fine.
I kid. I'm nobody, actually. So I'm just another person in the world. But I am Kim Kennedy, and I have recently joined the cybersecurity industry in the last few years, officially. And I went into sales, thinking from an accounting and HR background. So a big part of what I like to talk about is how we can switch careers at any point. If you're not happy, I just wish I would have done this way sooner. And I really thought that sales would keep me busy and like I could be part of the money-making business unit of the companies, because I got tired of hearing that when I was in accounting and HR. Like, well, accounting doesn't make us money. And I get that. I do. Trust me, I understand. But I'm like, if I don't bill, I believe in a holistic way of looking at everything. It's not just in business, but the way you look at your life, your balance, again, if you do not balance your company, there's no point. If you have salespeople but no accounting person, or this huge enterprise and no security, it's kind of it negates itself. So we need to look at things holistically. I'm very scientifically based, and so with that, I kind of like to look at that. But I went into sales, and I have discovered I hate sales, and it's okay. I mean, I really thought it would keep me busy and keep my mind growing, but I ended up being more busy, like the calling, and I love the people side of it. I love the learning and giving back, but what I hated was the actual sales part, right? So I quit my last job in November, and I'm going to get certified, do all of these things, but I also was coming back to Colorado, and I found a prison bus. And so the prison bus changed the course of my history. And this prison bus was part of me starting a nonprofit called the Empire of We. Everything has kind of not gone as planned, but that's okay, because that's life, and how we deal with those things is what really shows us who we are. So I got the prison bus to Colorado, and we left on December 31st, so New Year's Eve. That was how I celebrated my New Year's, was driving a prison bus from Vegas to Colorado. And I've been working on that, I will be building it into a mobile security operations center. And then I want to use that to help educate and engage, different, all levels, from parents to, elementary to, civic leaders, cops, whoever wants to learn. I want them to show how cool things are, how creative you can be, all the different types of careers that there are in cybersecurity. It's not just a hacker. We're not criminals. There's all these wonderful things that we can do. So I am also part of WESIS Colorado here. As a board member, I am also part of WESIS, which helps. By the way, WESIS is Women in Cybersecurity. We're starting up the Colorado chapter. WESIS is a Hispanic and Latinx community trying to get more diversity for the Hispanic, community into cyber. So, and then actually one I don't have listed on my LinkedIn yet, and I feel bad, is part of the hip hop hackathon that is going on right now. And I need to get that on there and work with that a little bit more. And I apologize for not having that on there, but I love having, it's all about diversity, getting people in. And Hip Hop Hackathon is through Data 360 and Marie Smith. We need more people. And so we got to get the barriers out of the way and we can go from there.
I totally agree. We know we need to do it from doing what's right perspective, but with the skills gaps, the shortage of people, it's much needed, and everyone should embrace that. Just from the diversity standpoint, people's life experiences can help them troubleshoot things in the same way. I mean, it's like you talk about cloning people, but ideally you really don't want to do that. You don't want the same person thinking the same way, because maybe you're just doing the same task over and over again. Maybe that works, but when you get to use critical thinking and creativity, that's kind of hard. So that's awesome that you're involved in that. I know a lot of people that get involved in those type of things, and there's nothing wrong with it, but some people may be more towards women or non-binary, LGBT, or that sort of thing. But it's really nice that you're kind of involved in a little bit of all of it. And I really like what you're doing with your project, because a lot of people, like the stuff I've done has mainly been focusing on helping people learn for a trade. So it's cool that you're showing kids and even people in other industries on how to protect themselves. So I think that's really interesting and cool that you're approaching it from just the all around standpoint. There's not a lot of that. People usually pick one and that's it.
Well, and that's the thing, because we kind of focus, and like I always talk about us being in a vacuum, right? So we talk it to ourselves all the time. How can we do this? And there is a reason to have, when resumes come in, there's not a lot of women or people of color or, anybody, like necessarily apply in the same quantities as, say, white males. And it's unfortunate. So how do we change that? Because we know that there are, obviously our APT groups in other countries are not white males. Let's just be honest, right? So come on, let's use it a little bit.
Unless it's Russia, but that's
yeah,
that's only one. But yeah,
yeah, and there's we could talk about divides of all those types of things, and but at the same time, really we have to think again holistically. We're global. The United States itself is made up of many different people from different backgrounds, different colors, everything. And so that is something that plays into it. And how do we use that? Like you said, their backgrounds growing up, have a huge effort on how they, look at things.
Yeah, very, very good points. And so that's really, really cool. So, so you're also a podcast host, a co-host, and you help with the podcast. Can you share about that? I think it was a good time to share that.
So Mike Jones has been pivotal in my career, and I've met him. It's over a year or so ago. I can't even remember, but he has a very interesting backstory. And he was just starting up the podcast at the time, and kind of got in with him at the very beginning and have followed him through. And recently I've joined him as a co-host. And it's been an amazing journey to see where he's been to where he is now. And he's just, got, the most amazing stories, is an amazing red teamer. And I know I have a lot to learn from him in the future. And, so it's called The Haunted Hacker, and he is the haunted hacker because of some, he has some malicious activity in his past, and that's part of his story. He's haunted by his past. And so that's kind of where that nomenclature came from. And part of my prison bus as well, is the fact that two different stories that kind of come with that is, I believe that your past does not represent your future. You can always change today. From today forward, you can make that choice and you can make those things. Some people have it easier than others. I know as a white female, I have it better than a Black female. And I understand these things. I understand white privilege, and I want people to know it's not impossible. And there are people here that are your allies that can help you get you free resources. 2, social engineering, right? Do not judge the outside by the inside. So, it's always funny, even yesterday when I was in it, there was somebody driving past and I'm like, hey, at a stoplight, and they're just like, And it's just kind of funny. So those are the two big stories from that too, as well.
Yeah, and when you were mentioning that about people, some folks that have been reformed, that's one of the good things I think we really need to do too as a country and a society, is to realize you can give people a second chance, because there's a lot of people that if the situation were different, they wouldn't have done what they did to make the money or do whatever. If everyone had well-to-do parents, you had what you needed, you probably wouldn't do those certain things. And
Absolutely.
The thing is, when people get these opportunities, it takes that away. And I believe, without a shadow of doubt, knowing a lot of people, I grew up around in personal experiences, that some people did certain things, that there's no way they'd ever repeat that again, once they've been able to learn how to take care of themselves, make money, and learn a trade. So I think that's one of the things we really look at, because it's really kind of sad, because I've known of people with criminal records that can't get a job, and they're totally reformed. Maybe they had a substance abuse issue before, but they've been long sober, and people need to give them a chance.
110% agree with you. The prison system is a for-profit system. It is not really meant to rehabilitate, and because of if you look at the states with the least education, you have the highest prison populations. And you're right. So if you have been reformed and you don't get a second chance because of the color of your skin or whatever, and plus your history, how are you supposed to not go back to that? We create this cycle, and then we blame people. And so that's why I want to get this free education out there. Honestly, even with the prison bus, I don't care if it's about cyber tech. If you are interested in something, let me help you. I will find you a way to get to some free resources and try to help you, because there are plenty of people in this world that do want to help. But there are a lot of scammers out there too. So I want to make sure, like, I'm vetting, I also want to support smaller nonprofits. And so I do want to help, different nonprofits and just help each other. We have to, right? So it's horrible what's happening to these people.
Yeah, it is. And then even mentioning, some of the disadvantages people have, sometimes socioeconomic disadvantages too. You take people that grew up in poor communities have a harder time. I've had cousins myself. I grew up in a blue collar family, so I knew of how to make money, or, I didn't have the example to go to college or get an office job or do any of that. So at least that was kind of ahead of, like, some of my cousins that didn't know any better and didn't have anyone, a good mentor or someone to follow their experience, someone that can help guide them and give them advice when they need it. They didn't have that. And so that's very important. And don't you find sometimes too, even when you're helping people, that there's cases where people just need someone to listen to them. They're going through difficult times. Maybe, there's something they have trouble with, and they just need someone to listen. And sometimes that's, what they need, even along with the education piece.
Yeah, well, sometimes, not everybody is going to be, a CISO, and that's okay. We have this tendency to, like, oh, if you don't get to the top, you're not good enough. I think if you're working and you're happy, that's success to me. If you've changed your life and you've done something different and you're happy, you're a success. We've got to stop focusing on, like, oh, and this industry does have a tendency to, like, you got to learn everything. And, and it is constantly changing, which is what drew me to the tech anyway. I've always been interested. So one of my stories is that when I was younger, little, my brother bought a Commodore 64. Well, it was from Santa, but it was my brother. He was only 4 years older than I was, but he got the tech. It was never for me. And I'm over there like, I want to do this. And, I wasn't allowed to touch it unless somebody was around, and, he didn't want to deal with me. So, I played as much as I could, but it wasn't encouraged in me. And, it was, no matter what it was, if it was something for a boy, I didn't get that same encouragement, even though I may have had this better, like the more interest in it. It was pushed on him and not encouraged in me. And I'm over here like, please let me.
Yeah. They probably said, shut up, Kim, go back to your easy bake oven.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. And I just, I can't fault them. That's how they were raised and whatever. But it caused issues. And that's also one of the reasons I went out on my own. I've had my hard times. I did everything the hardest way possible. I have learned from it. Things like that, the things that almost killed me ended up saving my life. It's taught me a lot, but I don't want everybody to have to go through that, because if the internet had been around, I would have known more people were struggling like I was. If I had the parents that would have supported me in the same way, so I want people, like, the internet has brought wonderful things and it's brought a lot of bad things. And one of the worst things I've seen recently is the cybersecurity community getting a bad rap. Hackers are not evil. It's a misnomenclature of like what we are, I try to make people, like, I talk to everybody about cybersecurity, and that's what I want to do, because it's everybody needs to be part of this, especially with digital natives, like born with phones in their hands, But I try to tell a waitress, I'm like, have you ever put sugar packs underneath the table because it's rocking? You're a hacker. What? Like, yeah, it's creativity of how to fix a problem that something's broken. If it breaks, how do you fix it? If you thought of that idea, like, there you do, it's simple things. It doesn't have to be so complex.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting how far off base the terminology's become, because even back when the term was originally came out, it wasn't anyone trying to break into computers or even at the time phone systems. It was just people, because you look at the hackathons, those have nothing to do with the CTF. It's all about programming. And so you see how the media has mislabeled hacker, and it's hard to get that title back. Working as a pen tester myself, the easiest way to explain to people is I'm an ethical hacker, and then tell them I'm a penetration tester. They got no clue what you're talking about. But when you tell them I'm an ethical hacker, they said, is there such a thing? And so it's just
right. And that's horrible.
Yeah.
And then, kids are seeing the movies and stuff, and they go, oh, that's like really cool. They want to be like, there's more than that. Right. And so that's also a big part of what I want to do is change. People think that you have to know math really well. You have to be great at programming. You have to do this. And I'm like, maybe you want to go into sales and marketing. You're going to have to know learn a lot of acronyms. Okay. Now nothing's going to get you away from that. We love our acronyms, right? And it's confusing, but you don't have to be. Do you have to be good with a computer? Yeah. But if you are willing to learn and you're thirsty for knowledge, it's an amazing industry to be in. But it doesn't all have to focus around a penetration testing.
Yeah.
There's so many different angles from it.
And that's one of the things I kind of get disappointed with a little bit. Well, I mean, if that's what someone wants to do, that's good and that's fine. And I won't discourage anyone from it. But I think it's good to explore some of the other jobs out there, because like threat hunting, that's really cool. If I wouldn't have went into penetration testing or maybe got into the industry later, I probably would have done something like threat hunting. It looks so cool,
And that's kind of where the area I want to get into eventually. But I know it's going to take some time with, learning just more. And I'm okay with that, because I'm not in this there's no way to learn everything. I just want to keep learning. As long as I'm alive and not wearing diapers again, I better be outside, and my brain better be learning stuff. So
yeah, very cool. So for those wanting to get into the industry, what would you recommend for someone that was wanting to start a career in cybersecurity?
Just do it. No, I mean, it sounds that easy, but really, if you're interested, reach out. Find somebody that, find a YouTube channel. There's plenty of us in this community. I just made a post. I love to introduce new people. There's a lot of great mentors. You've had David Meese on here as well. I love him to death. I love David Meese to pieces. Okay, whatever. But, there are a lot of us out here that we're just new to the industry. And I want people I don't know everything, but I can point you to somebody that does. So just try, if you fail, great. That's part of life. That's part of what like pen testing and blue teaming is learning from failure, right? Like that's how we get better, right? And that's actually what hacking is too, learning from failures. And so if you're interested, find some YouTube channels, find some other things. I think we also need to do a better job about making sure that we are informing people of how hard it is to get into the industry. Also telling them we talk about balance, but then we're like, well, I'm on, podcast 24/7. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm working, 80, 90 hours a week. That kind of scares people off. We talk about all we have a lot to still go, but it's not just our industry either, right? So balance is something we all have to focus on over money, because it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you're dead, your kids don't care about how much money you have. If you're dead,
that's true.
Focus. We've got to focus on the things that are important. It doesn't mean you only work 20 hours and you've got to get that $150. Like people come into it for money. It's not about money. If you're coming into it for money, you might luck out. But you need to come in with a passion to help people more than anything. And by doing that, you'll find a great community.
Yeah. And one of the things I've seen too, that people are so accepting if you're helping, when people are just getting started. And that's one of the things that really I admire, because I see, people just getting in the industry, hadn't broken in yet or whatever, that are helping people. And some people think they're too new to help people, but they got to realize if you've just started, you just been into this a month, you're a month ahead of the next person that's trying to get in. So there's always something you could share in the fresh perspective of someone coming in new. Because my former students and people I mentor, I got into this a long time ago. They're coming in new, so they may find some resources I didn't know about. So, and even I think,
and again, that goes back to diversity.
Yeah,
it's diversity of age. It's a diversity of background, like where you grew up. Rich versus poor versus South versus North versus another country. I mean, all of those things come into play. There's always something new to learn and a different angle.
Yeah, one of the things I think too, when you're, someone's getting into it, having study groups and stuff like that, because one of the things you got to figure is one person doing all this research on their own can only find so much. But if you get multiple people that you interact with, you're going to be able to collect that information better, and it'll get somewhat vetted because they see it and they like it's a good resource. It's not like you had to find it, vet it, and then decide whether it's usable or not. Absolutely.
And it is overwhelming. That's another thing I would tell new people. It is overwhelming. It's going to be overwhelming until you find out where you want to go. And again, I went into sales. Didn't want to go. I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So, once you it's okay to start a path and go, you know what, this really isn't for me. I mean, you can go into programming if you find out I like doing some stuff and you're like, oh, this is cool. Maybe that works. It's trial and error for some of it. This is why I have a big problem. And this is a good segue for certs and, backgrounds and stuff like that, degrees for these, I used to be in HR. So I understand that requiring these degrees, I don't know, they don't make sense to me because one, the field is so new. How do we have, require degrees for something that really hasn't had degrees for that long? Degrees can be outdated if they're not taught by, current professionals, right? So also, the certifications have gotten out of control right now. In my opinion, everybody has a new cert, and I think a lot of them are great as long as they're on the cheaper end. But CEH has gotten a bad rap in the last year or so for some stuff that people have found. Now, I'm not judging, but I understand if there's some things, but again, they are being required by certain employers. Does that make you good? No, it means you spent money. What does that also do? If you're from if you're from the poorer side of things, you can't afford these certs. You can't go to college. We need to work on apprenticeships and internships more. You want to know where the skills gap is? Start hiring all of the 200 applicants that apply, and vet out who has the passion, who is putting in the effort to find you and work on things and, do these things, but not everybody has the money. I mean, if a lot of people are in India, they don't make the same types. In Mexico, our rate exchange is different. So you want them to pay $1,300 for a cert? They can't. And so we're cutting out entire populations based off of cost.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because a lot of the certs I got into the field, I was already working in another profession. So when I moved over to be an sysadmin, I was working as an AutoCAD drafter. So I had a professional career, so I could afford that. When I moved into security, the certs I got, I was working as a sysadmin. And then when I moved into pen testing from security, I was working as a security analyst. So having that experience was able to afford those things. I totally agree. I'd really like to see things get away from certificates, because you don't need a certification, because some of the best pen testers in the world have 0 certifications.
It was created by people without them.
Yeah, that cert didn't exist.
Like the entire industry was created by people that were like, I wonder if I can do this. And they did. Mm-hmm. And now we have all these free resources and people are giving back. So if you give them a test or an exam, and maybe like a hack the box, or depending on what they're doing, formulate something that you can test those skills on and see if they can do it. Or again, why don't you go and try to actually train people? They do it in construction. They do it in a lot of different areas. And guess what? People that have 0 education can go and have a good life. Let's help people have a good life instead of sending them to prison because they didn't have a good life and can't afford a cert, or, want to get into the United States and can't because they can't, get a decent job.
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned the prisons, man. They really should take advantage of that and actually train them to do trades when they get out. And you go back to even some of the high schools and stuff. When I went to high school, we had auto body mechanics class. Mm-hmm. We had if people want to go to school, want to be beauticians or barbers, they had a beauty school in the high school. You took the classes, went and took the certification test, and you got your license, and you were a barber or beautician, whichever route you wanted to go, building trades and all that. And there's not a lot of those options anymore. Whereas, back when I was younger, you had those trades that you could get trained in and move into. But now, they've really eliminated a lot of that stuff.
They did. And it's really sad because, I think our education system isn't focused properly, right? So if you're in a poor state and or rural area, you're not going to get the same funding. And so you're not going to have the same computers and stuff, and not know how to even do these things. And so, yeah, you're right. We need to start kind of at an earlier age. We need to get trades back into schools. We need to, focus energies where energies are going to pay off for not only that person, but for the community as a whole.
Yes.
Right. So, again, holistically, we need to think about our communities, and it's not just security. It's how do we get our kids to be, stay out of jail, stay, off the streets, stay off drugs, and again, I preach this regardless if it's cybersecurity or technology. We need to do better with, we talk about our kids all the time, and I don't want to go into what's happening today, because I know that's a thing, but that's a whole nother podcast. But at the same time, we need to make sure, we've got parents working 3 jobs. We've got, that's 3 jobs between 2 parents if you're lucky, and you got to get them to and from school. Then we had COVID. How do we even know if the training was being done properly for these kids? These kids are behind in school now because their parents couldn't pay attention. There's so many things that COVID brought to awareness. And obviously, if you're lucky, but obviously people that were more well off, they probably had more attention with their kids. They probably had computers better computers. We don't know, what the ramifications of that will be in the future still.
And another thing to keep in mind too, the single parents working multiple jobs can't be home with their kids, or, just kids in general. Kids are curious, and that's why they get in a lot of trouble. So we can give them a place to direct that curiosity. how so many kids are interested in hacking, get them involved in bug bounties or something, or CTFs.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I agree that parents need to have a lot more focus when they're giving their kids, laptops and phones and stuff like that. But at the same time, we have to do a better job with the parents, making them understand why they need to do those things. Again, we talk as cybersecurity. Oh, we're a cybersecurity expert, and you got to do this, and we give the fear and fear. What is it? FUD. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. We need to stop that. Yes, we need. I usually try to go. Yes, these are worst case scenarios. However, you could still get hacked. You could lose all your photos. Do you want to lose all your baby photos? You don't keep your photos. Have you backed them up recently? Just simple things like that. We've got to do a better job relating to everyday people, right? And making them understand it isn't just fear. It's this can happen. It's becoming more relevant. The criminals they have the same things to go buy ransomware and malware now as we do to buy antivirus and malware protection. They just click. So these could be little kids not even knowing what they're doing. So we need to do a better job as a community. And that's that's what I want to work on, getting out to everyday people and making sure that they understand, hey, look, I'm just asking you to do some little simple things that will protect you. If you got a bunch of kids, photos, vacation things, or, whatever it may be, how do you want to protect yourself? You got a home security system? Okay, cool. That doesn't protect your computer. It protects it from being stolen. But once it's stolen, guess what? They have all your information.
That's great. So we're down to the end of the show. Is there anything you'd like to share before we close out the show?
I don't know. I guess everybody, please do me a favor to save the world. Talk all the time about cybersecurity in simple, everyday terms for everyone. If your family is not listening, that's probably because they're your family, and I get that. But you know what? When you're talking to strangers, make sure you're relating to them. We're doing this because we have a passion for it. This is real. We understand, but we need to make it relatable to people so that we can truly make a difference in this, cyber war that we're fighting.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for joining the show. I enjoyed hearing about all the things you're working on and your advice, so I appreciate it. I'm sure someone's going to get great value out of your advice, so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to us all changing the world in the future.
Well, thanks again for joining. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you on the next episode.
BugCrowd's award-winning platform combines actionable contextual intelligence with the skill and experience of the world's most elite hackers to help leading organizations identify and fix vulnerabilities, protect customers, and make the digitally connected world a safer place. Learn more at bugcrowd.com.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Hacker Factory podcast with Phillip Wylie. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share itspmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.